Hello, welcome to Chapter 1, Module 1 of the IFLP Modern Law Practice course. In Chapter 1, we're going to answer a very important question. Why are you and I even here? Well, I suspect as an IFLP student, you're probably here to learn valuable skills. This is because you understand that the legal industry is gradually evolving from one-to-one consultative services to a broader model that also includes legal products and legal solutions. You are definitely 100% correct. What you're going to learn in this course is going to set you apart from your peers and dramatically enhance your employment prospects. As an IFLP instructor, my goal is to help you acquire this valuable body of knowledge. That said, we're also here for a second important reason: to create a new generation of leaders for a renewed and expanded legal profession. Why is leadership so important? Well, specifically because the IFLP skill set, the very one you've signed up to learn, becomes much more valuable when we have a large population of skilled legal professionals who know how to lead multidisciplinary teams. Indeed, we need to start talking about leadership now because the need for better trained talent is growing much faster than the available supply. As a result, after you complete this course and have just a few months of on-the-job experience, there's a very good chance you're going to be one of the most qualified people available to lead an important new project. And for the greater good, we need you to be ready to step up and make this leap. So again, why are we here? To put in place the first two elements of a powerful flywheel. Element one is foundational knowledge in data, process, technology, design, and business operations. This is the content covered in modules 2 through 6 of this course. And element number two is your willingness to step up and help lead a renewed and expanded legal profession. Once these two elements are in place, we're going to put our shoulder into the flywheel to set in motion a virtuous cycle that's going to benefit clients, citizens, and broader society. This is our opportunity to do both good and well. 10 years from now, this is all going to look obvious. We are going to make an important chapter in legal history. Now, I understand that I'm making a bold and audacious claim that some of you may think is just pie-in-the-sky nonsense. So to back up my claim, let's review an historical example that reveals when a profession thrives and when a profession fails. The example comes from a book many of us are familiar with, Mark Twain's Life on the Mississippi. As some of you may know, before Twain became a renowned author, he spent his early adulthood on the Mississippi River apprenticing as a riverboat pilot, which was one of the 19th century's most prestigious professions. Because the Mississippi River touches the shores of many U.S. states, riverboat travel is governed by U.S. maritime law, including a system of licensing overseen by the U.S. inspector. In the early days, pilots with the requisite skills commanded an extraordinary wage of $250 a month. Entry to this lucrative profession was delegated to the pilots themselves, with the license requiring 2 pilots to vouch for a candidate's skill and experience. Not surprisingly, these coveted opportunities flowed disproportionately to the pilots' sons and nephews, so much so that the supply of pilots overwhelmed demand, causing wages to plummet to a mere $100 per month. This change in circumstances, of course, was very troubling to a large number of the pilots. Thus, a group of them, including some of the very best, banded together to reclaim their bargaining power. This led to the creation of the federally chartered Benevolent Pilots Association, or BPA. In exchange for a modest initiation fee plus 10% of their wages, the pilots became eligible for a $25 per month pension payable to all retiring pilots and their surviving spouses. Although the BPA pension was a very attractive benefit, there was one major problem. Those who joined the BPA were immediately cast out of work as the steamboat owners and captains refused to pay the BPA's $250 per month minimum wage. Thus, during its early days, the BPA became the laughingstock of the entire riverboat pilot profession, as all its members had become functionally unemployed. Yet, this laughter did not last for very long. This is because the demand for steamboat travel started to grow very, very rapidly. Thus, the steamboat owners and captains had no choice but to start hiring BPA pilots and start paying the BPA prevailing wage. Yet, here is the pivotal part of the story that secured the BPA's long-term success. The pilots developed a system of information sharing that dramatically improved the safety and efficiency of riverboat travel. The linchpin of this system was a series of metal containers called Cairo boxes that were strategically placed on the piers of larger and medium-sized cities up and down the Mississippi River. The Cairo boxes were very distinctive because their only other use in the U.S. during this time was with the U.S. Postal Service. Placed inside each Cairo box were dated, time-stamped reports written out in a standardized way that documented conditions on the treacherous Mississippi River. To signify its value, all the pilots' reports were completed on special, beautiful, gilded paper that befit the work of such a dignified, skilled profession. With access to timely and reliable reports on the rapidly shifting Mississippi River, the number of accidents and other calamities went down dramatically. Not surprisingly, this became a source of enormous pride amongst the pilots, which in turn created a sense of diligence and professionalism that elevated the entire BPA membership. So, what came next? Something that all legal professionals could understand and identify with. The insurance companies evaluated their claims experience and made the decision to only underwrite policies for boats piloted by BPA members. In effect, through the ingenuity and discipline of the Cairo box system, the BPA had become a monopoly. What followed was a period of immense prosperity as the pilots' wages rose from $250 to $500 to $700 per month. I wish I could just end the story here. It would be such a wonderful story to tell. Unfortunately, the pilots became drunk with their own power and pushed for even higher wages. In turn, the steamboat owners and captains joined the conspiracy as a way to justify ever higher rates for the passengers and the cargo. As an atmosphere of greed and self-interest overtook the entire industry, the BPA entered a period of decline. Next came the railroads and then ultimately the Civil War. Indeed, it was the Civil War that grounded Mark Twain as a pilot and began his career as a writer. Mark Twain wrote that the BPA was the strongest, most indestructible organization the world had ever seen, yet within his lifetime he saw it perish. Now that we have the example of the rise and fall of the riverboat pilots, let's reflect for a minute on the Cairo box system of information sharing. In my view, the Cairo box system is professionalism at its very best. It's professionals using our collective knowledge, skills, and experience to achieve superior results for the benefit of those we serve. Think about how the Cairo box system increased the efficiency and safety of river travel, how it dramatically reduced the loss of life and property on the dangerous shifting Mississippi River. Likewise, imagine what it felt like to be a riverboat pilot who helped build a system that made the world around them so much better. So as you might imagine by now, the Cairo box system is the key metaphor of IFLP Module 1. The Cairo box system was infrastructure that protected travelers from very bad outcomes. Further, it could only exist through the skill and ingenuity of the riverboat pilot profession. Now, let's apply this metaphor to the legal profession. Lawyers, clients, and broader society also depend upon an elaborate legal infrastructure, one that unfortunately has fallen into disrepair just like so much of our physical infrastructure. Law professor and economist Jillian Hatfield gives us a working definition of legal infrastructure, which she defines as the almost invisible platform of rules and practices on which we build everything else in our economy. Using Professor Hatfield's definition, let's take stock of our own legal infrastructure. According to the Legal Services Corporation, 86% of all low-income Americans with a civil legal problem receive inadequate or no legal help. Similarly, the National Conference for State Courts reports that 76% of all civil cases in state courts have at least one self-represented litigant, 3/4 without a lawyer. That's an absolutely astonishing number. Unfortunately, lawyers serving people are also struggling. According to the 2017 Clio Legal Trends report, for every 2 hours the typical solo or small firm lawyer spends on legal work, they invest another 2 hours looking for additional paying clients. Finally, a recent Thomson Reuters report on the state of the legal market observed that lawyers and law firms are caught in a pattern of, quote, consensual neglect, where no one takes responsibility for the industry's bleak statistics. Well, in Chapter 1, I'm here to announce that the era of neglect is coming to an end. This is because the IFLP community is in the early days of building a renewed and expanded legal profession. At IFLP, we live our professional values. Period. Full stop. This is just who we are. I want to end Module 1, Chapter 1, by making two very important points that are foundational to the Modern Law Practice course. Point number 1. In Professor Hadfield's book, she evaluates the poor condition of legal infrastructure in both the first and the third world and discusses the inevitable consequence of our continued neglect, observing, quote, when people feel as though the rules don't care about them, they don't care about the rules. Although written in 2017, those words feel even more relevant today. Indeed, as we look around us, we see ample evidence that the rule of law is unraveling and that a large number of our fellow citizens have become skeptical of representative democracy. For the legal profession, what could be more serious than this? So point number 1, you and I are preparing to do work of enormous social value. Here's point number 2. We're here to build critical infrastructure that enables the legal industry to move more quickly from one-to-one consultative services, which most citizens and businesses can no longer afford, to one-to-many legal products and legal solutions. Indeed, speeding up this transition is the only way we're going to close the access to justice gap and restore faith in our political and legal institutions. Any serious student of history will concede that unfettered market forces do not build the bridges and tunnels we need. Yet an ordered society requires such infrastructure. To make it happen, it always falls to a small group of leaders and stewards, people just like you and me, to make it our professional duty to just figure things out. As members of a renewed and expanded legal profession, we own this project of updating and maintaining our critical legal infrastructure. IFLP Module 1 is about the foundational body of knowledge needed to commence this project. In turn, you, yes, you sitting in front of this screen, are going to move fairly rapidly into positions of influence and leadership. Indeed, this is our once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do both good and well. See you in Chapter 2.